What's going on, y'all? J. Rod Anderson here. Listen, man, let's talk Invest Fest. This has to have been for me the most prolific, amazing conference gathering of people in one place at one time that I've ever attended, man. I left there so pumped up, but not just excited, but compelled to do something, man, to do something with the knowledge. And just as a result of the vibe and the energy I felt all weekend, I wanted to just come and share with those who didn't have a chance to make it, just some of the insights that I got from the session. I mean, we had everyone from Bob Smith, Mike Novogratz, billionaires. I mean, in one place, in one weekend, man. I mean, it was simply amazing. And there were no big eyes or little U's. Everybody was just in there together, just there to learn, to impart. One of the things I'm in my fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha, shout out to all of my brothers, Alpha Phi Alpha. But one of the things that our mottos is, first of all, servants of all, we shall transcend all. And I think one of the most powerful things that impacted me is like everybody there at the conference, they were just coming from like a servant's heart, man. I'm just here to serve, to share just the experiences, the knowledge that I have to uplift the culture. So I could go on and on, but I'm gonna just run through. I got about 3 pages of notes, but I'm gonna run through these pretty quickly. And I just want to share with you just some of my personal takeaways. It was a whole lot more. I will be interested for those of you who did attend, leave a comment and tell me what were some of your big takeaways. But let me go ahead and jump into this. First of all, shout out to Troy and Rashad for inviting us to be a part of their network. And so my first takeaway, one of the biggest takeaways just from the overall experience is this, is that one of the most valuable assets you have is your network and your relationships. And man, Rashad talked about this in one of the interviews before the conference. It's like everyone that was a participant there, and you got to think they had like 125 people from every industry there, but he said everyone there was from either a direct relationship or from a connection that was made as a result of direct relationships. They didn't go through any talent agencies or anything like that. So respect the networking and relationships. That was my first big takeaway. So don't sleep on the people that you do life with, that you do business with, man. Those are your most valuable assets. All right. So second takeaway, and this came from a session that David Shands, Nikki Saunders, shout out to Nikki, Christopher Simmons, and Dante Catlett did. And this was about social media. So this was another one that was good for me, but they said, David Shands actually said, there is no one right answer or right way to do social media. And that made so much sense because I know a lot of times for me personally, you hear everything from the gurus who are slamming, smashing it, man, hundreds of thousands of followers. And then you try to do this, and then you hear someone else and you try to do that. And he basically said it's just like all of the experts are going to have something different to share from their experience and their knowledge of expertise. But he said there is no one right way. So, and Nikki kind of echoed this. She was just like, first thing you need to do is start with getting to know who you are. And she had this beautiful example of being an introvert or versus an extrovert and figuring out what's your most comfortable way of relaying information. Are you going to do audio? Are you going to do video? Like, what's most comfortable for you? And she even said, like, if somebody came and woke you up 3 o'clock in the morning and said, hey, I got a room full of people here and I need you to speak to them, what's going to be your first inclination without you even thinking and without you overthinking? Like, what's going to be your preferred way of reaching those people? So whatever you do, you got to really get to know you first. Like, your vibe? What are you comfortable with? Like, are you okay being out front, or are you more so want to be like in the back, don't want your face to be seen? And whatever works for you, that's okay, but you have to figure out what works for you. And once you figure out what works and feels right for you, and this was another key point, you have to approach your work based off of the needs of those that you're trying to serve. Let me make sure I get this right. And not your own wants and needs. So I thought this was profound. So you can't, and this one got me right here. So David Shands asks, like, what should you put in your bio? So your Instagram profile, like, what should you put there? Like, she's like, should you put, man, dad, I love fishing, and I'm an author and speaker? Because truth be told, that's exactly some of the stuff that I had on my profile. And so I think it was Nikki or one of the other panelists, they was just like, no, people are not online searching for what you are. They're searching for what they need. So if I got on there, I love fishing, or even for me, like, oh man, I'm an author of 2 books. People not really they don't care about that part. They want to know, can you meet the need, or can you address this problem that I have? So real quick cheat code, man. So put in your bio something that speaks to the need of the people that you're trying to serve. And so David Sands, I bet you some of you all in the audience are changing your bio right now. That was me. So you check out my IG bio, and I guarantee you it'll speak to the problem of the people that I'm trying to help. And they also said, let people know where you're from. So I'm representing the ATL, so just in case you wanted to know, but put that in your bio too. It's another connection point. All right, so what else we got here? Yeah, I talked about the profile description. This was probably the most important takeaway for me, and I'll tell you about it in a minute. But this right here, consistency is a main ingredient to success in whatever you do. So, I was, even before going to the conference, if you look behind me, consistency, commitment, and dedication. But you see, I got consistency in the middle. That right there, if there is such a thing, that's the cheat code to breaking through to the other side. You gotta be consistent. And I'll be the first to say, man, that's been an Achilles heel for me, but I think I have gotten over the hump as a result of the energy that I took away from this conference. But let me give you a clue. So this is what I did when I came from the conference. In the area of consistency, I made a 3-year commitment to myself. And y'all can hold me to this. For 3 years, man, I'm going to put in the work, because what I saw, everybody who was up on the stage, everybody who was a panelist, a lot of them I knew way back when, and really the only thing that they did, they kept putting in the work and they stayed consistent. And as you stay consistent, I think somebody at the conference said, if you build it, the people will show up. So I just want to encourage you, man, stay consistent. Stay consistent. Just do a little something every day. All right. All right. Let me keep going, because I don't want to make this too long. So Diddy, man. Shout out to Diddy. So much respect for this brother here. But learned so much from him, and just kind of watching how he moved. But here are my big takeaways from Diddy. And this would be number 3 was consistency. And I think, well, you all don't need numbers. So here's my big takeaways from Diddy. Number 1, he said, ain't nobody coming to save us. I said, ain't that the truth? And man, it made me, he said, we're all we got. So we got to invest in each other and support each other however we can. And you know what that took me back to? Took me back to the Rumble in Alabama, man. Y'all know the bat signal is up. What's up, man? I mean, that was such a prime example. It's just like, we all that we got. And so we got to support each other. The culture has to support each other. And so he really emphasized that. And he just didn't talk it, man. He demonstrated it. But y'all know what I'm talking about. I'll get to that in a minute. And the next point from him was that the system wasn't set up for us to prosper and be free. It was designed to do the opposite. So you got to think this system wasn't designed for Black and brown people. I'm gonna just be honest. But that doesn't mean that you weren't meant to be successful. So even though there may be some stumbling blocks and some roadblocks and some obstacles, and Diddy talked about some glass ceilings that you kind of break through them, man. And one thing that was so profound that he said, I think they asked him like, well, how does it feel like you're one of a select few to be billionaires? And he was just like, yo, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's just like I got more battles that I have to fight on this level. It's just I'm fighting them on a higher level. But his whole mindset was like, if I fight and break through this now, I'm gonna make it better for the people that's coming behind me. So you're gonna encounter resistance. Get used to it, expect it. But if you break through it, you're gonna make it better for somebody that's behind you. So truthfully, it's never, you never really get to a place like, oh, I've arrived, I've made it, because we all have to come up together. Shout out to my man in Alabama, man. Perfect example of that. Hey, and y'all know the story, but we got to come up together. All right. Here's another big point from Diddy. Black spending is $1.3 trillion. The Black dollar accounts for $1.3 trillion of money spent. But here's the thing that made me like, ooh, we got to do better. Only 2% of that money is spent or invested in the Black community. And what's worse than that? I was watching this video that I think Rashad did, and he said somebody rolled up on him, and it was either it was a Jewish guy or they were talking about a Jewish guy, and he had a dollar, and he was like, you know what? You ain't gonna never see this dollar. And so at first he was just like, is this a little kind of racial thing here? But the point that he was making is just like, no, when I spend this dollar, I'm going to invest it in a Jewish business, and they're going to invest it into another business, and that money is going to continue to circulate in that community. Which it makes sense, man. Who doesn't support their own, like your family unit? You're going to look out for your family first and foremost before you look out for anybody else. But when it comes to the Black community, he said, our money don't stay in our community over 6 minutes. It's just like, boom, you invested into that Black business and boom, it's gone. So going back to the point that Diddy made, it's like we have to be more conscious of investing in our community, and that makes sense. And so you have to make a concerted effort to do this. It's just like the way we've been marketed to and programmed, in a sense. It's not like our first thought. Like sometimes we kind of stray away from that for different reasons, but let's get back to that, man. Let's get back to that. But here was the thing that touched me the most. He didn't just speak about that, he demonstrated it. Like after it was over, he presented a check for $1 million to the Earn Your Leisure Fund. Man, that was huge, man. And, he didn't have to do that, but he was demonstrating what he was talking about. And unbeknownst to me, I went back and caught it on social media later. He left there, went to Jackson State, and made good on a promise of $1 million to them. And so I may not be able to give on that level, but you can do something on the level that you are now. And it may not even be monetary. I mean, I had 3 things. You may purchase, but if you can't purchase, you can promote somebody's business, or just a simple praise, just like, hey man, I see what you're doing a good job. And one of the other parts of the whole conference that was like over the top was the vendor fair. And I mean, you had like hundreds of businesses in there, man. I mean, 19 Keys was up in there. Jamal, the 9 to 5 millionaire, was in there. Like everybody was up in that piece. And it just felt so good because you had opportunity to invest right there. So check even the shirt that I have on. This was a vendor that I supported. It says "We Are Black Wealth." Shout out to them, man. Make sure look them up. Let me let you all see the shirt. But go and support them. They're on Instagram. You can look up "We Are Black Wealth." But that's just a small example of what I'm talking about. Just in however you can support each other, support somebody who's in the same area as you. Now, there were like 300 vendors in there. I couldn't support them all, but this shirt spoke to the lane that I'm in. And what I'm doing now is just one thing that I realized, and it kind of even goes in line with the message of this shirt. One of the things that we have to do, especially as Black and brown people, is we got to get our thinking and our identity straight. So one of the shirts that I had on this weekend at the conference says, "Wealth is in my DNA." And so I realized if I can get enough people to realize before you go after trying to get wealth, if I can get enough people to realize that you are wealth, it'll come much easier to you. And so that's really the mission, that the assignment that I have. I'm working on the identity part of wealth, even going beneath the mindset. The mindset and the beliefs, those are important, but they all feed into how do you see yourself? What's your identity where wealth is concerned? Like, do you see yourself as being wealthy? Forget about how much you have in the bank. Do you see yourself just based on how God created you? Yo, wait a minute, I am wealth. So shout out to We Are Black Wealth. Let me keep on going. I don't want to don't want to get bogged down because I get to going. But here again, like I said, my mission is just to help usher people into a deeper revelation or understanding of their wealth identity. So let me move on. So next takeaway, man, this one really, man, this part of the conference. This was a session by Ronnie Brown. She was interviewing Tabitha Brown, Chantella Riley Irving, and man, there was another panelist on there. But this is what I took away from their discussion, and this was deep. You have to trust God and allow him to lead you through the tough times and adversity that you will encounter on your wealth journey and the places where God is prepared for you. So in other words, they were just talking about, they all had some type of struggles that they had to overcome, but each of them had a part of their story was just God leading them. And I know Tabitha Brown, shout out to her, she just shared her testimony that she had gotten sick, and she said, God, if you heal me, you can have me. And as you can see, God healed her, and he definitely has her. And he was the one that spoke to her and just like, yo, you need to do videos. And she was just like, videos? I don't know nothing about all that tech stuff. But she still was obedient to what he was prompting her to do, and look at how it turned out. So include God in what you're doing. And this ain't even about religious, it's just about relationship. You was created by a creator, and he has plans for you, but he just needs us to lay aside all of the mess and junk that we picked up just growing up in this world, and the experiences, the hurts and the pains. If you can put all of that stuff aside, and a lot of times the hard times is to help peel those layers off and break that outer shell, so what he's planted on the inside of you can come out. Yeah, man, let God do what he trying to do in your life. Let me keep on going, because I'll go parabolic on just that little piece right there. And so this was something really profound from Miss Irving. So I think she's Kyrie, his stepmom and his agent. But she said people told her that you're not supposed to be here. And so she didn't let that deter her from being there. Get that? They told her, like, no, a woman of color, you're not supposed to be here. But what she said is like, that doesn't mean that you're not supposed to be there. And so Tabitha Brown shared something similar in a story where I think Miss Brown, the host, not the host, the person that was interviewing Ms. Roney, she said, "How does it feel to be in Target and all of these other different places?" I think she had to deal with Whole Foods. How does it feel to be in some of these places? And this is what she said, and this was probably one of the most profound things of the whole conference. She said, "I felt like I'm supposed to be here." I said, "Ooh, that's it right there. I'm I'm supposed to be here. You supposed to be at the highest level in your industry." And so one of the things that she said is that we have to begin to normalize wealth and success and doing great things and being great people and doing great things. And so that's one of my biggest messages for you is normalize success for yourself. Normalize wealth. Like, hold up. I am wealth. I'm supposed to be wealthy. Are you serious? I'm supposed to have more than enough to take care of my four and plenty more. You supposed to. So another challenge of mine is just normalizing that in our conversation. Like going back to the shirt I wear, wealth is in my DNA. It's before it's what I have, it's who I am. And so that's what I want you to do for your life. Well, don't matter what your circumstances look like now, begin to normalize wealth and success in your life. All right, man. Some good stuff, isn't it? I'm telling you. Last thing that Tabitha Brown said that was powerful, and she said this in reference to her husband when they started doing videos and different things. He wanted him to kind of get in front of the camera more, and so he was just like, "Nah, that's not me. That's not my thing." And one of the things that she said that spoke to me is that he had to overcome imposter syndrome. And I never heard that term before, but I was like, ooh, that probably described what I had been dealing with for so many years. It's just like, you don't think you belong here. Like, you don't think that you're supposed to be here. It's like, it's not real. It's like, you don't have what it takes. Like, you an imposter. It's like, no, the real authentic you was meant to stand up and stand out. Like, that's the real you. The imposter is the you that's playing it safe, playing it low key, don't want to take risks. So here again, the challenge to you, and this was a challenge to myself, got to overcome that imposter syndrome. All right, let's move on. Let's move on. All right, I got a few more to go. Robert Smith, man, shout out to Mr. Robert Smith. Thing that was really interesting to me about him is like he was very practical in some of his uh advice and suggestions that he gave. And let me give an example. He said one of his biggest thing was build up your skills and habits. And that seems so simple, but it's so profound because he was just like, it's your skills and your habits that's going to be the thing that sustains you and cause you to be able to maintain wherever you are. Like, if you don't have the skill set for a thing, then how are you going to be able to function? Like, so build up your skills, but in building up the skills, you have to build up the right habits. So, I know there's this famous quote that says that we define our habits and then our habits define us. So I want you to look at what are your habits? What are those things that define you? Like, are you the person who are always punctual or you're always late? Are you procrastinating? Do you start things and don't finish? No condemnation. Just recognize where you are, because I had to work on some of the habits that I had, some of getting started and stopping, getting started and stopping. And so it's just a way for you to recognize where you're at, but build up your skills and habits. Another thing that he said, which was profound, he said, you have to learn how to participate in this system as a capitalist and not just a laborer. I could cut the tape on that one right there. We gotta get out of just this labor-based mindset. Like, you gotta get into this capitalist game. Now, I could go a whole lot deeper in that, but just take that for what it is. You have to get on the other side of the equation. If your only interaction in this whole system is as an employee or a laborer, you're not going to be able to break through it. It's like you got to get on the other side into the capital game and learn how to get your money working for you instead of you just working for your money. That was real. All right, next, and this is number 7. This was from an investing panel, and I wrote this. This was my own mental note to myself, but you have to be a good steward over your financial ecosystem. And what do I mean by that? Like, what's your financial ecosystem? It's all of those things that go into making up your financial self, your financial identity. Just like certain things go into a certain credit score, like how many open lines of credit do you have? You pay your bills on time. All of those things are like ecosystem. But these are some of the things that they talked about: getting your credit right, life insurance, retirement planning. They talked about this. Nobody really wants to talk about that whole retirement piece and preparing for that. But challenge to you gotta today, I don't care how old, how young you are, you have to start thinking and preparing for your retirement. And then beyond that, estate planning. What's going to happen to all your stuff when you're gone? Because we all are going some way, somehow. We all going to end up getting out of here somehow. But you got to start making plans for your estate and what happens after you leave. And so a big part of that was wills and trusts. I won't get too deep into that, but definitely life insurance, wills, and trust. You need to do your due diligence and find out about those. All right, let's see what else we got. I got 3 more, and I'll be done. Number 8, this was from Rich Paul, and this was powerful too. He said, don't put yourself in a box, and don't allow anyone else to put you in a box either. This system will try to box you up, or it'll convince you to box yourself up. And so one of the things that Rich Paul was saying is like he didn't want to be known as just the agent. And so he intentionally, consciously had to do things and structure things in such a way that he didn't box himself into just doing that one thing. And so I echo that same sentiment to you. Like, don't put yourself in a box. Like, you were created with infinite, limitless possibilities of your creative ability. So why box yourself into just being an employee? Or why box yourself into just being an athlete? Or another good Lonzo Ball. He didn't box himself into just being a basketball player. Like, he has a whole business hustle too. So you're much bigger than the box. So don't allow the system, people, your own self to box you in. Because if you're in the box, it's only because you allowed yourself to be put in there. But guess what? You can also take yourself out of there. So get out the box. All right. And then last thought, and then I'll give you my own personal insights. This was from a session with Ash Cash, Humboldt, Lukanga, Lonzo Ball, and Maverick Carter. And simple point, one of them said, don't chase success, chase performance. How profound is that? Like, a lot of people are focused on the end goal is the success. It's like, no, don't chase the success, chase the performance, chase the high level, consistent performance. And if you do that, it's going to take you to the pathway of success. I thought that was really good. And this was another point from that panel discussion is each day ask yourself, what do I need to get done today? And what's around the corner that I need to prepare for? And that was a real simple construct that I could place in my mind. All right, what do I need to get done today? And what's around the corner that I need to prepare for? So that kind of keeps you present in what you need to do now, but it also challenges you to be a little forward thinking. All right, so those are my top 9, and my last 10. The final one is just my own personal insights. This is me. This is coming from my own observations, but I got 3 of them. First one is be a good steward over the level that you're currently on. I think being in the building with 20,000 people, one of the thoughts that came to me is that everyone is on a different level, but everybody's contribution and level is important. And one thing that I love, there were no big eyes, there were no big marquee people in a sense. Like everybody had a role to play. Like Steve Harvey was there, but he was interviewing Bob Smith, and Bob Smith was just privileged to be in the platform to speak to 20,000 people. And you know, even with Troy and Rashad, man, you would think it was their show. They could have been out front the whole time, but no, they tapped into everybody's else's gift and allowed everyone to use their gift to shine, but to serve at the same time. And so a lot of the people who were on the stage at the event got there simply because they were a good steward over the level that they were currently on. So, you know, somebody said, don't ever fall into the danger of comparing yourself to what somebody else is doing. Like Steve Harvey wouldn't be there. It's like, man, if I could just be like Robert Smith, or, you know, someone else saying like, oh man, if I could just be where Diddy is. Like, no, man, your part matters. Okay, let me go on. But be a good steward over the level that you're on. Number 2 is don't let the collective cause you to minimize your concept of yourself. So it's just another way to say the same thing. It's just like you are just as big as everybody else. And one of the things that kind of came to me over the weekend as I was looking at all these people, it's just like God didn't make anyone with any more than he made you with. And so why would you look at yourself insignificant or inferior or an imposter compared to? This doesn't even make sense when you think about it, because that's not, you were created with the same that everyone else has, but it's your concept of yourself. So don't let the collective cause you to minimize your concept of yourself. We all have an equally important role and part to play. We need what you have in you. You need what I have in me, and that's why I'm making this video. So don't compare. Don't look to your left, to your right. Look within, and whatever's in you, go ahead and, man, use that to help benefit someone else. And last one, and I already talked about this, is that it's not going to happen without consistency. So get up and get in the game, man. Hope you all enjoyed these my takeaways from Invest Fest. Please go down in the comment section and let me know what were some of your big takeaways. And yeah, stay tuned. I got a lot of stuff that I'm coming out with. I have it's called the Supernatural Wealth Academy, and I'm really going to hit on the DNA part of wealth and getting you to really see wealth is not what you have before, is who you are. And once you can get that understanding that I am wealth, it'll come easily. So I'm working on that. I got a course coming out too, Supernatural Wealth Mastery. That'll be out near the end of September. So stay tuned. So hope you all enjoyed this, and I'll talk to you later.